partidei. Delgado acolo este, va fi corner, dragi ascultători.
Oh dear. Yeah. Video killed the radio star. In my mind and in my car. We can't rewind. We've gone too far. Oh. Welcome to Valverde Broadcasting. I'm Duncan Casey. This is Richard Jackson, son of Jack, if you won't. Today we are going to be examining the 2000 film XMen by Brian Singer, heir to the sewing machine fortune. That's not true at all, or it might be. I don't
Possibly
know.
soon to inherit a jail sentence, but we'll leave that where that is for the moment.
Well, I've got tea in an appropriate Batman mug.
I'm Robocop.
Yeah, very good, very good. And we're going to discuss 2000. Oh dear.
Ooh, keep going.
Keep
fuck
going.
it. Fuck it. Shit. Yeah, fuck it. It's leather. Who cares?
An interesting, because we were talking about this earlier in the context of what kick-started kind of the current superhero craze, and I wouldn't credit this with it. I mean, this and Blade are always talked about, and then
it's very
Spider-Man.
important. I think Spider-Man's the one that got it right, because this always felt a bit wishy-washy to me.
It felt like it wanted to keep one toe in the kind of real slash Matrix.
It's ashamed of itself.
Yeah, I guess so.
The black leather costume, yellow spandex joke just about sums that up.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like the X-Men films, apart from perhaps Logan, because even The Wolverine, which was better than X-Men Origins Wolverine, still ended up with him fighting a frog lady in a basement and a robot.
Yeah,
you know but it wanted to be all serious, whereas Logan pulled that off a lot more.
And I suppose it's worth saying out the gate that these films may as well just be called Wolverine, because
yes, very much.
And
so.
Occasionally the Dark Phoenix again. And then the Wolverine,
X-Men 3 too.
Yeah.
No way.
No, yeah. So I guess it was sort of Blade, then this, then Spider-Man. But it's like, don't forget that like prior to Blade came out in what, 98? So it was only a year after Batman and Robin.
Yeah, true.
So it's kind of like
true, but it was the first one to, I can't say this with a straight face. It was the first one to treat the source material seriously.
Right.
It's got Stephen Dorff as a CGI blood monster. It's dark. It's more darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so this I guess felt though like a kind of. I mean, so this at this point is probably the longest running film superhero series.
Yeah, well, I guess in kind of with you can't really. It's very. I mean, technically, it's the same continuity.
Yeah,
but it's like they have stretched that to break it.
Well, they've broken it and they've rejigged it back together and they've kind of done all sorts of stuff. But technically, yes, because it's the same. It's either the same actors or the people who've been hired to play their younger versions. But So and this is kind of where it all began, and it's interesting rewatching it. I remember when I got this on Verse, and I watched it twice in the same day when I got it, and I thought, oh, this is really good. And
people went nuts for it. People really loved it.
And it was all right. I mean, I liked it, but it's one of those things. We were at a phase. It was all the sort of Smallville phase of like, you can't have it.
No tights, no flies.
Yeah.
The exact thing we're talking about is stupid.
The thing we're using to leverage your interest is stupid.
The thing that you're here for is stupid.
Yeah.
It's something that I would argue in a different way is kind of what I feel is Zack Snyder's problem, is that he was ashamed to be making.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Batman movies, the Nolan ones, they're not ashamed to be. They embrace Batman. They go out, they bend over backwards to make it realistic, but they embrace Batman.
He's at the heart of it, though. Ultimately, it is a character piece, and it's not like you say. It's not ashamed. I mean, it likes to find reasons for all the things he does.
For whatever reason, in that era, we wanted everything to be realistic, because it's
9/11, I guess.
It's okay to have. To a degree, not in the case of X-Men. It's okay to have a lady with white eyes that can control the weather, but only if she wears a black leather outfit, because a white one would be dumb.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I suppose when I look at like the Wolverine and Cyclops costumes, they are harder to pull off, but then it's not impossible. And like in the Wolverine, There is a deleted scene.
That looks quite cool.
Looks cool folded up in a box. I don't know what it would look like on him.
I did see there was some fan film or other where there was a guy in a proper Wolverine costume and it looked quite good.
Right.
That was kind of cool. But I guess you couldn't do it then, I think was the thing.
The trouble with cinema is that everything has to, especially when it's an origin story, which that sort of is it's like you'd have to explain why they all wear that stuff, and it's like Wolverine's costume especially, like, didn't it used to be brown and yellow?
It was like kind of orange and yellow and brown.
Yeah, when he was
the original,
just doing his thing in the forest or whatever.
Yeah, he was a Hulk villain originally. Oh, but that costume was okay. That the brownie one came after that one.
Right.
Yeah, it's an odd one, this, because we've talked about this before, but superhero movies were so deeply off trend. Don't get me wrong, the Batman one's kind of stuck in the 90s, but then they tried to do the pulps with the Phantom in the Shadow. It didn't quite stick.
Yeah.
And it was unthinkable that you would do a Spider-Man or an X-Men film. And then, particularly the X-Men. And the X-Men got made, and then, because again, people hate this being said out loud, but you just have to fucking deal with it. X-Men wasn't that huge in the popular culture internationally. Like, in the same way Iron Man wasn't, but, you know, people knew the X-Men more, particularly most because of the animated cartoon. It was the main reason. And, you know, Spider-Man had huge capital anyway from various cartoons and whatever.
Spider-Man was always the thing I think that people wanted a film of, but for the longest time. I remember reading an article in, like, Empire or Total Film Story sometime in the mid to late 90s where they were like, one day in the future of whatever. Like,
we'll have flying cars and Spider-Man movies.
Well, and they were literally talking about Spider-Man would be the first one where, like, their main character is entirely like computer created or whatever, and it's like, no,
he never wears the costume though.
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
a CGI photographer.
Looks like Neo from the Matrix, and then sure enough, like obviously Spider-Man came out.
Well, the fact that James Cameron was attached to Spider-Man, notoriously, tells you that, you know, that should inform you as to the will being there. You know, the will was there to get these things done.
Yeah.
And I know something that Stan Lee was personally involved in, was trying to get this shit made for ages. X-Men, again, X-Men's an odd one because it really has its cake and eats it, because it tries to be all sort of grown up and realistic, but at the same time it's got Ray Park as a frogman, or a toad boy if you prefer.
And then like Sabretooth is, and again, there's a continuity gaffe because obviously then it's Liev Schreiber later on.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything to Wolverine when he sees him.
And supposedly gets killed.
It dies, but then in the past is Liev Schreiber, and not like the wrestler guy that played. It's so the I think that's the most often discussed thing. And the problem I've had with this as a series, and I'm kind of using this as a jumping off point to complain about the series, is like, if you don't care about continuity, why should I? Well,
and more broadly, there's that thing of that comes into what I've talked about recently as well, with like, no, this is actually the sequel to the first two movies. We're ignoring everything after. It's like, I'm sorry, then I have no investment in anything because you're telling me you can just cherry pick what's important. It's like, well, that's not. No, like what? Like no, I don't. I'm sorry, but you just don't get to do that. This is a series that has sort of avoided that, and I actually think Days of Future Past was one of the smartest ones in kind of.
I really liked Future Past,
yeah.
And First Class was great. First Class, and do you know what? I think they could have had their cake and eat it there again, because they could have just gone, oh, this is a reboot, but then they decided to mesh. And it's come out recently about Matthew Vaughn wanted to do Future Past, Dark Phoenix. First Class, Dark Phoenix, then Future Past.
Right.
So build up to integrating with the other cast, and it was going to be a big crossover thing. But Fox were just like, no, we need Future Past now, so you have to do that. So, which I really, really liked Future Past. This is the thing, I like individual entries in this series a lot.
Yeah.
But as a thing that's supposed to hang together, it's awful. I mean, I really like Logan. I thought Logan was great. But
that almost feels like an Elseworlds thing, and I think they've almost sort of said that as well. That is kind of. But
yeah,
I mean, whatever. Who cares? Like, it's a great. And like you say, I think if you just take them on an individual basis, there's some dross and there's some. It's kind of like the Fast and Furious series, in that like the earlier sequels didn't quite hang together, but then once it's weird because their kind of strategy was X-Men 1 to 3. And we will talk about X-Men in a minute, sorry. And then it was like the Origin series, because it was supposed to be X-Men Origins Wolverine, because of course we have to go to that one first. Then it was going to be Magneto, wasn't it? That's what First Class, if you look at the sort of script structure of First Class, it is based around his origin.
Yeah, and I think they had an idea to do a whole strand of Origins films, and that didn't quite pan out. Because fucking X-Men's Origins Wolverine is just awful.
It was the sort of... I mean, X-Men 3 was a whoops, and then Origins was like, oh... it's weird how that they keep making Wolverine. Well, they're not now, but like they were just on this thing of like fucking this boner for Wolverine that they had.
Well, I think the X-Men's always had that. I mean, so I remember I had a friend with an American mum, and the first time I ever really saw any Marvel comics was through him. And he was fucking obsessed with Wolverine, and it seemed like the comics were as well at that time in the 90s, like and Wolverine this and Wolverine that, and blah, blah. So the movie seemed to really run with that, because I guess the received wisdom is that Wolverine is the best X-Men character among people at Marvel, I assume, because they fucking go on about him all the time.
I guess so.
I wonder if, well, put it this way, it's going to be interesting to see how Marvel treats Wolverine.
Yeah, going forward, I'll be interested to see. I think, things have run out on this. If they, what happened to that? Those New Mutants or something? That sort of horror.
That's still happening.
Still happening.
But it's one of these things that they kind of have to release as an obligation, and the people are wondering if it's going to be retooled to the MCU or whatever. But I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't know, pets. I didn't know.
But yeah, so the first X-Men film, it's funny watching it now because it's got a style about it that's quite televisual in a way. Yeah. It doesn't seem particularly filmic. I think some of it does.
Comparing it to The Matrix is a good shout, because it's got one eye on that, because it's all kind of black leather and kind of night-timey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because it does do a lot of stuff from the comics. It has like Cerebro, doesn't it? It has the mansion. It has, if you were going to cast anyone as Professor Xavier. Yeah, Patrick Stewart, that's fucking great.
Definitely, yeah.
In my mind, Magneto was always a big, well, no, not in my mind, in the pages of the media. He was like this big dude, but it doesn't really matter. And I think having him...
Serene. Wizard, you shall not pass! Serene. Wolverine, you shall not pass.
But they work as a great double act.
Well, him and McKellen.
Stewart, it's kind of this broken friendship and stuff, and it's something that Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy that's their real voices.
Nailed it.
That's what they've built on really nicely with their interpretations as well.
I agree. There's a real nice, and there's a sort of meta camaraderie that they seem to have, in a sort of bromance that kind of seems to go on between, which is really cool. Seems to, it's totally ancillary, but it kind of plays into, sort of seems to. They feed off it on screen, which is nice. Yeah, and it is. I mean, I don't know. Those things seem to be coming to an end now. Are they in? Yeah, they are in Dark Phoenix, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah,
boy.
Yeah, they are. But that's all dead now, mate. That's all being kicked in the head.
Yeah,
it's all being taken out by the back of the barn and shot.
That's it. I mean, I do think if this is now to become a Marvel property. Fair enough, and if they're going to, I guess, form part of the new...
do a better job of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and if they're going to form part of the new MCU strategy...
Well, they need to now. The Avengers are gone. Now it's all like the fucking third and fourth string Avengers. They've got to get their X-Men in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, the film X-Men.
Unfilmed X-Men. Is it? I mean, I think it's the first example of a Marvel film that was... Blade is true, and we mustn't forget Blade, but Blade was a idea and run with it. It was the sort of not really.
Well, it's one in particular. I can't speak for the States, but in this country, nobody knew Blade was a Marvel film. No one knew that.
No, and
my friend Colin did. I don't mean literally no one. It's a figure of speech.
The thing with it was never considered though a sort of jumping off point for the Marvel universe, and it wasn't like the comic wasn't really that, was it? It wasn't. Nothing like the comic. So it felt like X-Men was the first one on the Marvel side to kind of be a big budget thing of...
It's funny because it respects the source material and really doesn't simultaneously, because I think, in terms of where the characters are and what they're doing, it's all pretty faithful. Again, doesn't like the costumes, it chooses what it doesn't like. Still has a lot of the out there elements. It feels very much like how I remember the animated series and its retelling of those classic X-Men things. And you kind of the team get together and live in the house, and the president's trying to do this and the senator's trying to do that. And all the rest of it. And I can see why it would attract Bryan Singer, because it's it's long been held up as being allegorical as the kind of gay rights movement and everything else, and it makes sense. It fits very neatly into that model.
In the second one, they're holed up at that kid's mum, their parents' house, and his mum goes like, "Have you tried not being a mutant?" And it's like, that's obviously clearly
right. Yeah. Okay.
X-Men
2 is better. I was never mad about these anyway.
At the time when it was all we had, I suppose I kind of was. But yeah, X2 gets so much praise heaped on it, and it's not
like it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's better than the first one, but it's not amazing.
I don't know if it is though. I mean,
I haven't watched it in ages, man. I don't know. I've watched XMen recently, obviously because I'm fucking talking about it, wasn't it? But
yeah, XMen. I don't know. I mean, I do like. I think XMen manages to clip along at a fairly decent pace as a film, and I think
doesn't outstay its welcome.
Yeah,
which is important, I think.
Definitely. And you've got things. Yeah, you've got. I do think that like you said, I think the characters are fairly well drawn. It is clearly a Wolverine film before it's anything else, and then it's like then the second one is. I mean, that's what I never understood about X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's like, wasn't that the second film? Like,
yeah, because they just do all that again.
Yeah,
so there's like 2 different versions of him in the Weapon X.
Yeah. Well, there's 3.
Oh yeah, because fucking Apocalypse
did it. But like more faithful this time because.
Oh, they had him in the crazy Weapon X headgear and junk, which is a cool look.
It is, but it's like we didn't do that before. Like,
oh, well, this is what I mean. It's just the continuity in the plotting of the X-Men films is just quite insulting up to a point. It's just kind of, again, if you don't care, why should I care? And this was yours to, you just need a flip chart somewhere.
Yeah.
That's all you need, fucking a spider diagram just to keep track of this shit.
Someone needs to spend a day just watching 2 or 3 films so they know what the fuck is up.
They're very important people, right? And their time is money, and they can't just be sitting around watching films if they're expected to write the next entry in that series of films. Like, what do you think this is?
Yeah. So what about casting? Obviously, we talked about Professor X, Wolverine. Wolverine obviously was originally supposed to be Dougray Scott, and I think he
did Mission Impossible 2 instead.
No, it wasn't that. He was contractually obliged to stick around. Again, it was a Mission Impossible film that fucked up a superhero franchise because he'd done it, but they wanted him back for reshoots or something like that, and he was contractually obliged to go from.
I'm kind of glad because I really there's something just adorable about Hugh Jackman's enthusiasm, and I really, really, really respect him for the way he's stuck with that character, which he clearly loves on some level.
I found his comments recently about when he was asked who should play him, and he was sort of, who should be the next Wolverine, the most fucking profound question anyone could ask. And he said he thought like Tom Hardy or something like that, and I was like,
that's who Matthew Vaughn wanted.
Yeah, but you kind of go like, hang on, this got you out of obscurity. This made you, and now you want to hand it off to a well-known actor who doesn't. It's like surely your answer should be the next guy, like the next person who's right. For
Duncan Casey, mate, from fucking England. This is how I sound.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fucking. I'm a big fan of.
Have you ever heard of a company called Tool Station? There's an actor from England who says Willie on the internet.
I saw that advert and I thought, I've got to have that guy.
Regardless, I think Hugh Jackman is really good in that role.
Yeah. And
I've always really respected him for sticking with it through thick and thin.
In spite of himself as well, because he's not really... I mean, he's well cast in that he's a good actor and he can play the part, but he's not physically what...
Well, Wolverine's supposed to be like 5 foot tall and stuff, so they kind of went their own way with that. But I mean...
Should have been Danny DeVito.
Amazing. Or I forgot his name. So
Hervé Villechaize.
See that Joker? Hervé Villechaize. He was dead at the time. He was the late Hervé Villechaize.
You mean Peter Dinklage?
Well, Dinklage is
naming short people now.
That's Bolivar Trask. Who was also played by Bill Duke. So try and square that fucking circle. Jackman. He didn't need this. He didn't need X-Men Origins Wolverine. He certainly didn't need the Wolverine. He didn't need Logan. Like, he just stuck with it, and I really respect that.
I respect that. And the fact that in those films he is doing the best, and he, in promotion and everything like that, he is giving it 110%, and that's, absolutely, credit to the guy. And he knows that people love him in that role, and it's like, it seems like every time it's about to fall on its arse, he comes back with something, whether it's Future Past or Logan or something like that, where it's like, this is.
I do think the X-Men generally are well cast as well.
Yeah,
like Scott Marsden and stuff, and Famke Janssen. I think they're all, and Eva Halle Berry, who's someone who's, not the most sort of interesting actor. If I'm honest, she's good when she's good, but I don't find her very varied. She's got a lot of range, but she's good. I mean, like Anna Paquin as well is. Not Kitty Pryde, is Rogue. Is really good, and she's a good kind of, she's the audience surrogate for Wolverine, and it's her job to go to the school and go. And this stuff all seems very kind of twee now, but it's kind of like, everybody's like me.
Yeah.
But, now we've seen it 100 times, as then we hadn't. And
Yeah.
so on. So, as an audience kind of surrogate, she's very good. Obviously, I really like her. I'm a big fan of Ray Park generally, and he's good.
He's an accident man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, not with me, but he's.
Best known as Darth Mulder from the
X-Files.
Star Trek.
X Mulder.
X-Wars. Yeah, no, I mean he's great. I mean doesn't have a hell of a lot to do, frankly. It kind of put me in the mind of the animated series. I will say this is the thing, like retrospectively, I didn't even particularly like it at the time that much, but it was always fine. I didn't think it was bad. It's pretty I mean, Bryan Singer is not someone that I conceive of being a particularly strong visualist, and I think he's better suited to, well, at the moment, jail probably, but he's better suited to, we don't know that, he's better suited to more intimate films, smaller scenarios, more kind of drama stuff than kind of superhero spectacle, I think.
It feels like but he comes back to it, with convenience. Like he obviously fucked off to do Superman Returns, that didn't work out. Valkyrie didn't work out.
I
Jack
think
Giant Slayer didn't work out.
Mike's,
back to X-Men. It's like,
I think it was Mike Stokelaser who said it, and I've never heard anyone put it better, but he referred to Bryan Singer as the deadbeat dad of the X-Men franchise. It's like he went out to get a loaf of bread and a pack of fags after X-Men 2 and then came back 15 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That always kind of pissed me off, that because I really like Future Past, but Matthew Vaughn set all this stuff up, did a really good kind of new take, and then fucking Bryan Singer comes back and goes like, yeah, cheers mate. I'll take over from here.
Throws it right into the ground and then fucks off again.
Apocalypse was garbage.
What's the Dark Phoenix? Is who directed that?
Simon Kinberg. Simon Kinberg has been involved in Fox's X-Universe stuff for ages, and he co-wrote. I believe he's in charge of the reshoots for Fant Four Stick, which Dark Phoenix was his directorial debut, because I think it's a producer and a writer mostly.
Because Matt Vaughn was supposed to do 3. He was originally, so that's why Vinnie Jones
plays an articulated penis.
And that's why, because Jason Fleming, who's Azazel in First Class, was going to be part of that as well. But because I think it's to do with Vinnie, they all wanted to jump ship when Matt Vaughn left, but because of the costume tests and everything that had been done for Vinnie Jones, he had to stay on.
That's kind of what pissed me off about Future Past. There's a bit where Mystique goes to an archive and reads the book of all those characters that are now dead, and it's like, oh good, all of that was a waste of time then. Yeah,
I know. Well, because they were part of the Matt Vaughn crew, and it's like, fuck.
Singer's back. Fuck you.
With his attacker Dysons. I like that film, but yeah,
I do like that film too. It's hard to say too much about the original X-Men, because I just don't think. It's fine.
It's vanilla, isn't it?
It's very vanilla, and what it is, depending on how you choose to value superhero films, it's very important. It's not. I think Spider-Man is more important, but it's arguable that X-Men helped Spider-Man happen because they were making good noises about that. I know they were being developed concurrently, but the success of that probably bolstered Spider-Man a little bit. And just created this concept that you could have Marvel films,
definitely.
Because that's something that DC just dominated for ages. It's just visually, it's not terribly interesting. I think in terms of its screenplay, it's not terribly interesting. You know what I mean? It's wall to wall kind of, it does its job just fine. You're doing just fine, X-Men. Everything's just. Do you know what? You're adequate.
You're doing fine, kid. You're doing fine.
You're doing fine.
Yeah, I don't know what its budget was and whether or not it was a particularly, it wasn't at the level, say, now where I think it's interesting because we've been shackled to that continuity. I feel like all these films, even though you've had the sort of soft reboots, like sort of JJ style of having to go, going back in the past and kind of having the younger crew, you're still building towards what we know. So it's like you can't quite, even with Future Past and all that stuff, it's still got to be like Mystique still has to be a big blue woman. She can't, not big, she's not big at all, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, but she's all blue. Like you're still stuck with those designs, and it's like if they could just get off that, I feel like this is a thing that needs a reboot.
There's a classy moment in First Class where Mystique ages up, and it's Rebecca Romijn. It's like, oh, that's nice. That's
I like that.
There's a classy touch, but then at the same time, 40 years have passed, and Professor X and Magneto look exactly the same, except he's got a shaved head.
I always said this from day one on First Class. It's like come brothers, sisters, and McCallum. It's like, what? Where is that?
Was it the new ones? I think is set in like 1992, and we're saying by 1999 he's gonna. It's like, what happened?
I know.
I stopped using suntan lotion. I started smoking.
I got a terrible crack habit. No, Ian McKellen doesn't look like a crack. That's junky at all. But
we're just saying, should have had some man, suddenly aged in 7 years, it might appear.
Yeah.
And stop talking with a sort of northern accent. Homo sapiens and guns.
Fassbender. Say it, Fassbender.
Sebastian Hugh Jackman. Fassbender.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It does have some nice moments in it. Like, so there's the moment on the train where he gets Wolverine and he
Yeah, sure. And that foreshadow, there was a thing from the comics where Magneto kind of tore out Wolverine's skeleton.
Yeah.
And that's a nice kind of foreshadowing to a thing that they never did.
Yeah.
But whatever.
That's it. Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? We're technically between the Wolverine and Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Hello, I'm Anne Wolverine. No relation. Played by Sarah Milligan.
We've done like 6 of these today. It's really hot.
That's why it's the same. We're nearly
We're
done.
tired.
We've got like 4 minutes left.
To you, this is just another weekly episode, and you're going like the ones that are still
Fuck
here
these guys.
and haven't unsubbed. You're going, this is one of the worst ones they've done. One of the worst ones they've done.
What about what about things like the jet? The what do you call it?
Yeah, like the XMen jet. I don't know what it's called. It's probably called the fucking X jet or something. Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's nice that it's there because it's one of those things. Again, they sort of being ashamed of a lot of stuff, but then they still have their own mega plane that they fly around.
Yeah.
Because like X-Men is just, as a comics, I always found that weird because they're just this kind of weird paramilitary militia, I suppose. They just, like, some shit goes down, they all pile into their invisible plane and go and interfere.
Well, that's always been the disconnect, isn't it? Because it's about a sort of school for the gifted. And I guess in this case, it's the gift is that they have superpowers, effectively. And that's a great jumping off point. But then what do you do as a group? They go around doing things that's kind of like...
It's like if you look at that, it's like Professor X has made this creepy private militia that he's raised from children. Like, it's like, okay, fine, who are you? We're just the X-Men. The what? Is that your plane? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, who made that? Because it's sort of shown to get progressively bigger and bigger, this sort of underground thing with planes and tanks and God knows what. And it's like, what? Like
Cerebro and stuff. I like all the kind of imagery of like the X doors that open and things.
Oh yeah,
cool. And his wheelchair is quite cool. And
that's stuck around a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been one of the things, and the kind of Cerebro helmet. They've been quite good for some reason, presumably because they built those and didn't want to change them. And it's like keep them in a fucking cupboard until Bryan Singer gets back.
It's interesting,
Brett Ratner, because
at the end of Apocalypse, they're all like, Mystique is our leader now, and they're all wearing their kind of X-Men costumes, aren't they?
Which apparently in the next one they wear for 5 minutes and then fuck off.
Fuck this off! I want black.
Yeah, because now you have. That's probably a continuity decision because now it has to link back to them wearing black leather again.
I know. So now we'll unironically be doing that.
So American comics have these hugely involved kind of backstories and continuities, and that's where you need some if you're going to adapt them long form over years. To be fair, the XMen films kind of pioneered that, I suppose. XMen. It's
about...
No. Not kicking that fucking beehive. It is, they did that, first to go so long form, 20 odd years nearly, so all right, fine. But you need someone kind of holding all this shit together, and Fox just dropped the ball on that so hard.
Yeah, agreed. But it's, it's still a film I sort of like in a way, even though it's...
I love you in a way.
In a way. It's a sort of vanilla, blueprint, Dr. No type,
Okay, yeah. And that's the thing, I've never, people really love it and I've never really got that, and that's my problem,
That's true. Well, there we go. That's enough ramblings on X-Men, I think.
That's a sneeze, free sneeze, there you go.
There you go.
How many other websites give you that? None, because they edit their videos.
Please find us on Twitter, Discord. What's it called? No, not Discord.
We've got Twitch. We never use that anymore. We're on YouTube Gaming. We've got Patreon. We've got Discord. We've got Amazon affiliate link.
Yeah, whatever.
We've got Patreon. We've got Twitter. We've got Facebook. We've got Bebo. We've got Habbo Hotel. We've got MySpace. We've got
Best
Alta
Western.
Vista. We've got Best Western. We've got Ask Jeeves. We've got the Yellow Pages. And we've got the Thompson Local Directory. You can find all of
Teletext.
those. Teletext CFAX. You can find all of those auf dem links below.
Yeah, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and all the good stuff. And we'll see you again next week for more